this is PNC Pittsburgh without the buildings, right? And the Clemente Bridge. And I remember when I was here last year, I saw people walking along that path, and I thought, wow, they get to look down on a ballpark, and I'd be here like most nights if I actually lived here.
Welcome to episode 287 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland, and welcome to crunch time around the baseball world as we're starting to see some major tournaments taking place. All-star games are happening, the MLB draft is coming, and so much more. We also have some news of our own coming up a little later on in the show, and we have a contest to get to as well. And for whatever reason, my voice is trying to leave me as well, so bear with me as we kick things off with the news. We'll start in Major League Baseball with our regular check-in on Calgary's Michael Soroka. He's made a couple of appearances out of the bullpen over the last week, the latest coming Wednesday night, where he took the loss after allowing one run on 2 hits with a walk and 2 strikeouts as his Chicago White Sox fell 3-2 to Minnesota. He's now 0-10 with a 5.25 ERA in 21 appearances this season, striking out 71 in 72 innings of work. In the minors, a few players on the move this week. AHP Academy alum Eric Sabrowski is back in action after a stint on the IL. He pitched Saturday night for the AAA Columbus Clippers, going 1 1/3, allowing no runs or hits while striking out 2. He's now 2-2 on the season with a 3.86 ERA and 53 strikeouts in 30-plus innings split between Double and Triple A. Back on Canada Day, Lloydminster's Justin King was released by the Biloxi Shuckers, but the Dogs Academy alum wasn't a free agent for long as he signed with Miami Marlins 4 days later and was assigned to the Double-A Pensacola Blue Wahoos. He made his debut with them on Tuesday night, firing a 1-2-3 7th inning with 2 strikeouts to help his team to a 6-4 win over the Rocket City Trash Pandas. Blue Wahoos, Trash Pandas. Some of the best names are in minor league baseball, aren't they? Vauxhall Academy grad Adam Macko has landed on the 7-day injured list with the New Hampshire Fisher Cats effective July 5th. No word that we've seen about the injury itself or how long he may actually be out for. The lefty from Spruce Grove through Slovakia has been turning a lot of heads again this year, going 5-4 with a 4.42 ERA in 15 starts, striking out 86 in 77-plus innings of work. After a strong first appearance with the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, Lethbridge's Kyle Bloor landed on the injured list at the end of April and has struggled to get himself back in since. He was sent on a rehab assignment to the FCL Twins July 2nd and has made 1 start and 2 relief appearances since then, allowing 6 runs on 5 hits with 2 walks and 3 strikeouts in 2 2/3. Big congratulations to former Brooks Bomber slugger and friend of the show Eric Radicek, as he's announced he's committed to the University of Tennessee after a phenomenal season at Niagara University. He's with Williamsport in the MLB Draft League right now, hitting .283 with 2 homers and 12 RBI in 16 games. Speaking of the MLB Draft League, an update on Vauxhall grad and former Sylvan Lake Gulls hurler Ty Boudreau. He's playing with State College this summer and is 1-0 with a 6.14 ERA in 4 appearances, including 2 starts. Boudreau has also struck out 17 batters in 14-plus innings. And finally, congratulations to 5 members of the Edmonton Riverhawks on being named to the West Coast League All-Star Game. Second baseman Michael Soper, third baseman Jacob Paternick, outfielder Bryce McFeely, and pitchers Tate Deering and Vicarte Domingo have received the call to the game, which is set for July 17th. A special shout-out as well to Alberta's own Max Hartman. The Dogs product is going to the game representing the Wenatchee Apple Sox. For those wondering about the Western Canadian Baseball League, we are recording this Wednesday night and have heard the rosters should be released sometime Thursday, late morning or early afternoon. So if you're listening late, you may already know who made the teams. We'll be recapping that announcement plus previewing the game itself on next week's episode. Let's head to the WCBL now for our guests this week, and we'll start with a bit of a recap of Canada Day in Okotoks, where the Dogs once again had a phenomenal crowd on hand to watch their team beat Swift Current. Among the longtime Dogs players we've wanted to get on the show for a while now is infielder Aidan Rose. He was with the Academy program starting at the age of 12, and now he's entering his senior season at UBC. He's in his 4th season with the Summer Collegiate team as well. He had an important 2-run single on Canada's birthday to help seal the 10-4 victory.
Aidan, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Take me back to Canada Day. You get 2 at-bats, and you managed to drive in a couple of runs in one of them. What was that like getting to be a part of that atmosphere and provide a spark for the team?
I mean, it's always definitely one you circle on your calendar. I mean, it's no secret that that's the most attended game of the year, so it's one that you always want to show up for. And I mean, to be able to contribute in that game was obviously pretty special. It's something I've always kind of wanted to do since I was a kid, and I've just been really lucky to be able to play in it for the last few years. So it's been awesome.
Mm-hmm. As a Canadian, you kind of alluded to it, but what does it mean to you to start on Canada Day?
I mean, we always have a pretty much all Canadian roster starting on Canada Day, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a long tradition of guys sort of just going out and representing the Dogs and playing for Canada and playing for the fans and just having a lot of fun out there, which is always really the name of the game. So it's a lot of fun. Absolutely.
And as a Dogs Academy guy, it must mean something extra special for you to play in front of that crowd that you've been a part of for so long.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been selling 50/50s on Canada Day since I was 12 years old, so to be able to actually be out there and playing the game is pretty special for sure.
You and I were kind of joking about this off air, but when you drive up to a facility that you've gotten to know really well over, the better part of a decade here, you still get the goosies, or are you still kind of like, okay, this is getting old?
I mean, it definitely never gets old. I mean, you gotta always kind of pinch yourself and kind of see where you're at and never take anything for granted, because it's obviously pretty special, and not a lot of people get to do what we do every day, and it's pretty awesome, and you never want those goosebumps to go away, for sure.
For sure. You're having yourself a solid season so far, 306, 7 RBI, a stolen base in 12 games thus far. How are you feeling about your performance to this point?
I mean, I was on the injured list for a little while with an ankle injury, so I mean, it's been pretty awesome to be back playing. I mean, you never know how much you really love it and love doing it every single day until you're away from it for a little while. So I mean, being back is pretty awesome, and been lucky to be able to contribute in the last few games. So yeah, just hoping to keep doing that.
Absolutely. Heading into this summer, did you have any goals or expectations of yourself?
I mean, I kind of just want to keep progressing with my basically with my game, and keep getting better from the year before. And I mean, whatever happens. I mean, we've had a lot of team success over the last few years, so I mean, obviously want to keep that going. But personally, I think just kind of continuing to improve and just being a better version of myself from yesterday or from last year.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned it. The Dogs are once again on top of the West again, had a lot of success over the last few years here. You've been part of this team since 2021. How does this team compare to those of the past?
I mean, I think we're a really well-rounded team. I mean, we've obviously had some pretty awesome teams. I think this team that we have this year is right there with them. I mean, we've been off to a pretty good start so far, playing a lot of good baseball in a short period of time. So, I mean, it's obviously been on a lot of good teams, but I think this team is right there with all the ones I've been on so far.
You guys have been on a bit of a roll, although there's one team that you've sort of has had your number of late, although as we record this, it was last night that you got that monkey off the back. What was it about the Lethbridge Bulls that seemed to have your number for the last few games here?
I mean, it's tough to really say. I mean, they played really good baseball against us in the last few matchups, and I mean, maybe we haven't been at our best in a couple of those, but it was definitely good to get the monkey off the back last night and finally win one in Lethbridge. But I mean, it's baseball. You can't go out there and win every game. Sometimes it just things just don't go our way, and had been looking that way against Lethbridge the last few games, but it was good to finally get one yesterday.
Absolutely. When in the dugout, are you guys talking about that at all, or do you kind of just wipe the slate clean every game and just don't worry about what you've been able to do against different teams throughout the course of the season?
I mean, like we all, it's more joking with it than anything. I don't think guys are super worried about it with I mean, we play every day, so kind of when things go right or things go wrong, just the next day is the next day, really. Mm-hmm. But I mean, everyone knows that we'd had some problems with Lethbridge, so it was definitely a little more focus and a little more intensity to start the game yesterday.
For sure. So you're also looking to win a third straight title here in Okotoks. Based off your previous experience here, what's key to getting there? What do you guys need to do over the next month to make sure you're in the dance again?
I mean, being the number one seed is big for sure. I mean, not having to go and win 2 games or a massive game on the road is always nice. Being able to have home field advantage for every series, for sure. We're usually a tough team to beat in Okotoks, so that's big for sure. And I think just taking it one game at a time. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, and also just having fun with it. I think, like, guys, the last few years have been, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of pressure. You want to do well and you want to win the championship, but I mean, we're all just out there having fun and playing a kid's game. So
for sure,
I think that's kind of what we've been able to do the last couple of years, and we're hoping to keep doing that this year.
As a guy who's into his 3rd season or 4th season now, what would it mean for you to bring another championship back to Okotoks?
I mean, it would be awesome for sure. The 3 championships would be definitely some icing on the cake, but I mean, we're gonna just keep playing the way we are and keep doing the same thing over and over, and hopefully that is enough for this year. I mean, it doesn't always go our way, but I think we definitely have a team who has a great chance at doing it again this year.
Absolutely. Let's go back in your baseball past here a little bit, Aidan. How'd you get into the game in the first place?
Well, I got 2 older brothers who both also played for the Dogs, and my dad is also a big baseball fan. So when I was about 4 or 5, my brothers were like around 10 or 12, and they were playing Little League, and it was kind of just something that I picked up watching them and started going to their practices when I was a little kid. And it was, I mean, being able to kind of play with kids who were a lot older than me was, I mean, pretty pivotal to my development, and it just sort of helped me find the love for the game, and still have that to this day. So I'm pretty grateful for that.
How competitive was that household with 2 older brothers?
I mean, it was real competitive between the 2 of them. I mean, I was a lot younger, so I think they sort of took a little pity on me until I finally grew a little bit and could catch up with them.
Looking back on it with 2020 hindsight, do you guys know who the best athlete of the 3 was, or do you still have little arguments about what could have been or what was, or that kind of thing?
I mean, we definitely still have arguments about it. I think it's better that we don't fully go there. But I know that my middle brother was probably the best when we were all 12. I know that.
A modest young Aidan Rose, that's for sure. As you were growing up, whose poster was up on the wall, or did you have a favorite team?
I'm a big Red Sox fan. Was a big Red Sox fan, and still am to this day. So I think I will be for life. And not too popular in the locker room with all the Blue Jays fans around, but I think, but you learn to tune it out.
Absolutely. And who's your favorite player on the Red Sox?
I mean, I was a huge Dustin Pedroia fan back in the day, but I mean, second baseman. I was always pretty small when I was younger, so I sort of identified with him as a baseball player. But more recently, I mean, I really love how Raffy Devers plays. Jaron Duran is a pretty electric player as well this year. So, I mean, they're both all-stars, which is pretty awesome. But I think definitely Dustin Pedroia for an all-time player.
I kind of figured, especially being the infielder. So it's not a bad choice by any stretch, and always loved the scrappiness that he brought to the game. So very cool. When you think back on the game, do you remember when it turned for you? I mean, baseball's that fun game that you're doing at the time as a kid, but there comes that point where you're like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. I could take this maybe to the next level. Do you remember that moment for you?
I think it was when I was a kid. I always sort of wanted to follow in my brother's footsteps, but I think I really, really started taking it seriously when I was about 15 or 16. It just sort of hit me one day that, man, like, this is something I really want to do, and if I don't work at it, then this could be over a lot sooner than I want. And I think that is sort of when I decided it stopped being something that I had to do and started being something that I always woke up wanting to do, for sure.
For sure. When you look back on the young career to this point, do you have any favorite memories or moments where you had to kind of take that step back and go, man, I can't believe I get to do this?
I mean, obviously winning those 2 championships were kind of a pinch me moment, but I think Canada Day this year, I actually had a little bit sitting on the mound after the game, kind of turning around and seeing all the people and seeing all the fireworks. It was like a crazy version of the Sandlot almost. That was sort of a pinch me moment for sure, which kind of just really grateful to be able to be there and to experience that.
Absolutely. Conversely, we know baseball is a game of failure, so I'm always curious, what's been the biggest challenge or hurdle that you've had to overcome over your young career?
I mean, yeah, huge game of failure. I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me is kind of finding that I care a lot more about what's going on with me than what other people do. As in, like, other people aren't super focused on what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I just think that they're focused on what I'm doing. So once I sort of kind of let go of that and sort of just realize that everyone's focused on their own thing and not scrutinizing your every move, it was very freeing for me to be able to kind of just go out and play the game and play more freely and play it as a kid's game.
Absolutely. A few fun ones for you before we let you go here, Aidan. First off, what's your walk-up tune?
It's Bad Company right now. I've had a few for the last. I've had a different one pretty much every year, but right now it's Bad Company by Bad Company.
That's a good one. What's your favorite ballpark food, specifically at Siemens Stadium?
I'm a big taco and a bag guy, but I've heard the chicken and a waffle cone is pretty awesome this year. I need to get up to the concourse and try it.
Maybe the All-Star game break or something like that. You'll wander on up, that's for sure. And finally, who's your hero?
I think my dad and my older brothers are my hero. All 3 of them, and of course my mom. Just really everybody in my family. Being the youngest, they all sort of laid the groundwork for me, and they each sort of opened up different pathways for me and sort of led me in different directions to be the person I am today. So I think all of them deserve a lot of credit in helping me get to where I am today.
That's awesome. A couple of standard ones we always do to wrap things up here on the show. First off, for those young kids starting out on their baseball journeys, maybe you're signing their autograph and they ask you for a word of advice or some pieces of advice or words of wisdom, and they want to get to where you're at now. What are you wanting to impart upon them?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Go out and have fun playing a game, and it shouldn't be confused with something you absolutely have to do, and it should be something that you enjoy doing. And if you enjoy doing it, then you're going to be a lot better at it.
And the final one we ask everybody here on the show, what does the game of baseball mean to you, Aidan?
It means pretty much everything to me. It's not really something that I do anymore. I think I've been playing for almost 20 years now, since I was basically a toddler. So it's not really something that I do. I think it's something that makes me feel more like at home. It's something that is makes me feel like I'm in my happy place.
For sure.
So it's pretty awesome.
That is fantastic stuff, Aidan. Well, congrats on all the success you've had to this point at UBC, in Okotoks, continued success there in this summer and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Before we get to our next guest, it's time to give away a Michael Soroka autographed baseball thanks to the Okotoks Dogs. They will, of course, be hosting this year's WCBL All-Star Game July 20th. I hear a limited number of tickets are still available, so make sure to get in touch with the Dogs box office for more, as it's going to be a great day. So we wanted to tie the giveaway to that All-Star Game in some way, shape, or form, And we thought we'd do an old school radio bit. Caller 9 only in email form. So emailer number 1 with the answer to this skill testing question. Name the 2019 WCBL All-Star Dogs player who went on to be drafted by Milwaukee and is now in the Tampa Bay Rays organization. Now here's a hint. He's been in the news a few times this season, and he was most recently on the show back on episode 257. If you think you know the answer, be the first emailer through to albertadugoutstories@gmail.com with your player selection, and we will name the winner as soon as they are crowned. Our next guests this week come courtesy of our own Ian Wilson, who's been traveling through Saskatchewan with his family, checking out some of the local sights and sounds, as well as a few baseball games. We'll start with Saskatoon Berries utility man Cory Wouters. The hometown boy has been fantastic with the expansion club this season. He's also coming off a great spring with McCook Community College, where he was named the Regional Freshman of the Year as well as All Region 9 second team after hitting .416 with 9 homers and 44 RBI in 52 games, while also making 11 pitching appearances, striking out 69 batters in 41-plus innings. You can read more about Wouters in our latest 7th inning stretch, which you can find at SaskatchewanDugoutStories.com.
Cory, tell me about this inaugural season in Saskatoon and just what you've seen so far about the midway point of the season.
It's been awesome. It's been really cool just being with a new team and getting to be at home. It's been great.
Are you a Saskatoon boy or you're a Saskatchewan guy? Are you Saskatoon as well?
Yeah, I'm from Saskatoon.
Awesome. And then, so just tell me what your outlet was as a fan, like when you were a kid growing up. What baseball did you watch? Where were you able to catch live ball?
There wasn't a whole bunch of live ball when I was around. The Yellow Jackets were here younger. When I was younger, I didn't watch a whole bunch of their games, but just playing and watching the midget AAA baseball, that was my live baseball that I got to watch.
Awesome. And then you have an outfield that's like a all Sasky outfield, man. Like, what's that like having just all the local guys kind of roaming the pastures?
It's cool getting to play with guys that I played with growing up and guys that I played with against growing up. It's just cool getting to play with them again when we're all a little bit older. Yeah.
And like so far, I know you guys got off to a bit of a slow start on the season. Things are starting to round into form. You guys are playing better, looking pretty good for a playoff spot. How would you assess just the team overall to this point?
Right now, I'm really excited about the next couple weeks. We're starting to come together as a group more for sure. The first couple weeks, just being a new team, everybody was nervous or just getting a feel for everybody, and I think it's coming together. Everybody's getting more comfortable, and I'm excited for it.
I know when I've done stories in the past on like new teams, starting up teams, expansion franchises or independent league or whatever it is, there's always a chaos story in there. Have you had any chaos moments, or has it been surprisingly like settled and not so bad?
No, it's been pretty settled actually. You know, they're taking really good care of us and everything seems really smooth.
Yeah, it kind of helps that they have the other umbrella of teams to go with.
Absolutely.
Let's get to know you a little bit better. Where was the college home for you this last season?
I played at McCook Community College in McCook, Nebraska.
Awesome. And how did your season go?
It was good. I had a good year. I enjoyed the guys that I played with. I can't complain at all about it.
Awesome. Some fun ones for you. What's favorite ballpark food?
Classic burger, probably.
Okay, what's on your classic burger?
I'm a simple guy. I don't really like sauce or anything like that, so I'd probably just go meat and cheese on that burger.
No ketchup?
No ketchup, no mustard, nothing.
Awesome. You're low maintenance. I like it. Favorite team growing up to watch, like MLB?
Toronto Blue Jays, just being a Canadian boy.
I like it. Favorite player?
That one's tough. I really liked Jose Bautista.
Yeah.
He was my favorite player when I started getting into baseball. He hit that big home run in the playoffs, and I thought that was super cool.
Oh, that was an epic moment.
Absolutely.
For sure. Favorite stadium that you've played in?
Ooh, that one's tough. At our conference tournament this year, we played at Colorado Springs. I can't remember the name, but it was an Indie Ball Stadium, and it was sweet. Just the grandstand, everything was so cool.
Awesome. Favorite baseball movie?
That one's tough. Probably Sandlot, just a classic.
That is a classic. You can't go wrong with that. Favorite bit of advice that you've received along the way, just in your baseball travels?
Just enjoy it, work hard while I can. I've had coaches growing up, and they've just said they wish they could have worked harder, wish they could have done things differently, and just leave no regrets when I have the chance to.
I've heard that before. Is it easier to hear that? Like, is it easier to actually do that after you hear it, or is it still hard some days to leave it all out there?
It's still tough some days. Sometimes you'll wake up sore. Sometimes you'll just wake up tired and might not want to do the extra work. But just knowing that there's guys who want to be where we're at, or they have been here, it's encouraging to make me keep going even when I'm tired.
Speaking of those younger kids who might look up to you and see where you are and want to get there, any advice to them?
Just work hard, enjoy baseball if you can. It's a kid's game. It's fun. Just have fun while you're doing it.
Awesome. How's your autograph looking? You've had to sign a few baseballs, I assume, at this point? Yeah.
No, it's cool. I don't think I have a great autograph, I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty simple, but I really enjoy doing it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Did anyone like Andrew Albers maybe give you some pointers on that yet?
Yeah,
he signed a few.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's helped us a lot, just where to sign the baseball and what spots to leave open, which way to go with the signature. It's actually been really cool getting to learn from him in that aspect, not even the baseball part.
Awesome. And you're also a two-way player, right? You do some pitching as well. Talk to me about that aspect of your game. What do you look at yourself as one or the other, or do you just happy to be a two-way guy?
I'm happy to be a two-way guy. I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I can until a coach or until one side of the ball gets better than the other. I don't know. I don't really see myself on either side of the ball. I just like to think from both sides.
And I think it's mostly been bullpen for you this year. Is it difficult to get into that pitching mindset when you've been like at the plate 3 times already that day? Like, do you have to put on a different kind of hat, so to speak?
Yeah. I also pitching in the bullpen is kind of just when coach tells you to get ready, you're going. So you don't have a whole bunch of thinking to do. Sometimes I find I overthink if I'm starting or something like that. So just being able to being told to go just warm up, it makes it almost easier for me sometimes.
Yeah. That's just better for you. Just don't think. Yeah. Just you only hurt the ball club if you think, that kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Awesome. Last question for you, and thank you for your time, by the way. What does the game of baseball mean to you?
It's everything. It's been my life since I was just a little guy, and I'm just happy I can still do it.
Another home province player making an impact with his team is Moose Jaw Miller Express pitcher Takao Cookson. Like Wouters, he's coming off a fantastic college season with the Valley City State University Vikings. He went 1-2 with 4 saves and a 2.96 ERA in 17 appearances, striking out 73 batters in 67 innings. For his efforts, the hard-throwing right-hander was named NSAA Freshman of the Year and second team All-Conference.
Takao, let's go way back. I want to go day one with you. How did you get into baseball in the first place?
I think it was my grandpa and my mom kind of pushed me into it when I was really little, and then I really fell in love with it. I had a lot of buddies that played, so that's kind of where it started.
Nice. And then in terms of this season, how did you end up in Moose Jaw? You're a Regina kid, if I'm not mistaken.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. What drew you to the Miller Express?
So Dustin Mulliken originally kind of sent me the text, and then he hooked me up with Eric, and Eric said he liked what he saw and he'd like to have me out on the team. So
nice.
Yeah,
pretty cut and dry there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about are you coming off your freshman season in college?
Yeah, freshman year I was at Valley City State in North Dakota, and it was really good. I won the freshman of the year for our conference and had a pretty good season down there. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah,
nice. And what was working well for you? Get into just what was working right on the mound for you that college season?
Yeah, I had really good teammates at my school. They helped me out. I learned a lot when it came to the little stuff in pitching. I had a good catcher that helped me out. My coach was really knowledgeable, so just having lots of the people around me to kind of guide me through how to work with college hitters and stuff like that really helped.
This is your first season in the WCBL. Tell me your first impressions getting into this league.
It's really fun. I like playing in front of big crowds. Med Hat was pretty good. I think Okotoks is going to be a really fun time. So good crowds, lots of good guys. Get to meet new guys from all over the place. So yeah, it's really fun.
And then your numbers are pretty good as well. I think it's you're 3-1, 3 saves, ERA under 3, which this summer is no easy feat. What's working well for you on the mound? Seems like it's translated from the college season. Yeah, just staying confident up there, knowing that I can go out there and compete. Just making sure that I'm not falling behind, just keep attacking hitters, and I think that's really helped me to get easy outs, let my defense work too. I'm not going to strike out a bunch of guys, so knowing that my defense is behind me to help, that's really awesome as well. we've seen some really lopsided scores this summer, like some crazy scores.
Yeah.
How do you, like, I just feel like as a pitcher, that's got to be terrifying. You see some of those scores roll in. How have you been able to, like, just not be a victim of that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this league is pretty offense heavy, I would say, and our team especially, like, we've got some guys that can really do some damage. So as a pitcher, you know, you let up a few, you just got to trust your offense is going to go back out there and kind of have your back.
Yeah. Few fun questions for you. Favorite team growing up?
I think the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
They were that's like 2015, 2016 run when they had like Bautista, the bat flip era, and like all that stuff. That was super cool to watch. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
Yeah.
And favorite player?
I'd have to say Marcus Stroman. I think just kind of the way he like carried himself, his like pitch arsenal. I learned like a lot from him, his changeup and stuff like that. So yeah, he was super fun to watch.
Stroman is such a polarizing guy because he's got that fire, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't like seeing how much emotion he shows. Any opinions on just? Are you that way as a pitcher? Do you show a lot of emotion?
I don't show a lot of emotion. I think if something goes wrong, I'm not going to show somebody up, or you know, I like to lead by example. And I think Stroman, you know, he does kind of the same thing. He leads by example, but he shows emotion because he cares. Yeah. And I think that's pretty cool to see.
That's why you're out there, right? Yeah. Favorite ballpark food?
Just a classic hamburger, I think. Cheeseburger, yeah.
Yeah. Anything? What condiments are you putting on that thing?
Ketchup, onions. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
Nice. Favorite ballpark that you've pitched in or played in so far?
Ooh. Cairns Field in Saskatoon was pretty cool, like in front of the crowd. Yeah, off the top of my head, I think that one would probably be the best so far. Yeah.
Favorite baseball movie?
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably my favorite one. Yeah.
Going back.
Yeah.
Right, a little off the board.
Yeah.
A little outside the box here, but I see like Dustin Mulliken walking around here, and you get coaches here. Just maybe talk to me a little bit about the coaching. And you know, Dustin in particular, as a former major league pitcher, how you're able to pick his brain, what you've learned from him.
Yeah, I think for me, like growing up when I was working with him for like the last 2 or 3 years, just being open to asking questions because he's super knowledgeable. And I think if you kind of ask him questions and pick his brain, he's really willing to help. And same with all the other guys here, like Eric, Jeff. They care a lot about us, so it's really easy to go up to them and say, hey, you know, I need help with this, and they're really open to helping and they're knowledgeable.
When you talked about confidence earlier, when you're a pitcher and you kind of rely on being confident on the mound, how do you is it hard to be, I guess, vulnerable or open with either a coach or a teammate about like I'm really struggling here, I'm going through something, or do you just got to swallow your pride and just talk it out?
Yeah, I think as soon as you just talk it out, you know, they've been in the same situation before growing up. They've played baseball. They've been in all that same situations, and I think the confidence thing just comes with preparation. You know, you've done this like a million times. You've thrown a ball a million times, so having confidence up there that you can just go out there and do it one more time to get the job done is super important.
Awesome. Last question for you: what does the game of baseball mean to you?
It means a lot. It's super fun just for me to come out here and do something I really love, and I know that baseball is going to provide me lots of opportunity after I'm done playing too as well, like coaching. I know my brother is getting really into it, and I'd like to kind of help him out.
Younger?
Yeah, younger brother, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to provide me lots of opportunity and lots of memories for sure.
Awesome. Will he maybe suit up for the Miller Express someday? Or?
I hope so. I hope so, yeah.
Awesome.
Next up is Australian Marcus Graham, who is hitting .307 with 4 homers and 29 RBI in 33 games for the Swift Current 57s. The Arizona Western College product is one of many international players on the 57s roster this season, and he recently had himself a whale of a game with 2 home runs against Weyburn, while his proud parents were in attendance.
Marcus, just tell us about your season so far and what you've thought of your play in the WCBL.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun traveling around Saskatchewan and Alberta. Wish we had a couple more wins, but I think we're on the right track. Throw a few more strikes and a couple of those one-run games sort of turn around. But no, it's been good fun. Good fun gelling with the guys and sort of learning about Canadian history and that sort of thing.
You're from Australia. How did you end up making it all the way over to Swift Current, Saskatchewan?
Mostly through my coach at Arizona. He placed me here, but then I guess to get from Australia to Arizona was a little bit more involved. Sort of needed a few coaches sort of in between to push my name along a little bit, but no, it's been good. It's good fun.
Yeah. And you've had a special week. Your parents, they made the trek. They're over here, and you got to show off for them a little bit. Tell us about the game you had in front of them a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was unreal. Obviously, everything you hope for, really. That was the first game that they saw at home. I don't know. Just put a couple of good swings on, a couple of good pitches. So, but it was unreal. Yeah. And then I don't know, just a game to remember. Really was. Yeah.
So the stat line showed 2 homers and I think 5 RBI. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I need to know, because do you actually promise your parents, hey, I'm gonna go yard before the game, or do you just get jacked when you're at the plate?
No. I mean, I actually remember the first at bat. It was like a weak pop up to third base, and I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. Yeah. They just come all the way out here, and but it was good. No, it was good. I'm happy they got to see that.
Yeah.
And we got a win, which is nice too.
Yeah. What was were you able to kind of celebrate with them shortly after the home runs, or do you have to wait until after the game? And what was it like seeing them after the game?
No, it was good. It was so my parents were sitting with my billet family too, and they have a young daughter, and she had a big poster with a picture of Vegemite and stuff on it.
Yeah.
And they were standing, and I just gave them a little point and a little wave, but afterwards we all went out and had something to eat and talked about it, and it was good. It was good. Yeah.
Talk to us about Australian baseball a little bit. I mean, Australia is it's made a name for itself, I feel like, in not just lower levels, but you're starting to see some guys bubble up to MLB level. Travis Bazana out of OSU is slated to go in the first round this year, probably top 5 pick. Just talk to us about the game in Australia and what has made it such a special sport in your country.
Sure. I mean, I think we've always loved sort of hand-eye sports, cricket and tennis. Baseball's a natural progression. And I think recently there's been a bigger push to go to college, and I think that's helped a lot of Australian baseball players, because we don't play as often. So to get that experience through the college system, I think you get a few more at bats, a bit more ready, and then you get players like Travis who are obviously doing super well.
Yeah.
I just think, the whole college trajectory has helped out Australian baseball a lot.
Switching over to Canada, what you said you learning a little bit about the Canadian history in your travels. What have you learned? What have you picked up about Canada?
Just little bits and pieces. I didn't realize you guys had ketchup chips. I know that's not a massive thing, but that's kind of weird.
Yeah. And did you try them? And
I did. So, they're actually good. They're not bad.
Yeah.
I had poutine. I couldn't get over the cheese curds.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that, but no, like Native American history. That's interesting.
Yeah.
We went to the memorial for the Broncos. That was really important. There's a lot of history in this town, a lot of sports history, so it's good to be a part of.
Western Canada is a great spot for sport, especially hockey and baseball, so you're in the right spot. I got a few fun questions for you, and then we'll let you get your warm-up in before tonight's game. Cool. Favorite ballpark food?
Hot dog.
Okay, good choice. What's on your hot dog? What do you put on there?
If it's a sausage from home, it's got to have onion and sauce on it, tomato sauce.
Yeah.
But if it's just a plain hot dog, I think some cheese.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Favorite MLB team?
Red Sox.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I've got believe it or not, I've heard a lot of Blue Jays.
Okay.
People I've talked to, yeah. Favorite MLB player?
Jarren Duran.
Nice, okay, good choice. I like your choices so far. Favorite baseball movie?
Benchwarmers.
Okay, another good choice. All right, favorite bit of advice that you've received within baseball, either from a coach or a player, that is something that they said to you that might have stuck with you and helped you, not even necessarily physically play the game, but just mentally with it?
Sure. I used to write down everything in a book, and then someone said you can't play it through the book, you got to just go out there and do it. So once I got rid of the book, I started playing better. So just stop thinking and do it, I guess.
It's that line from Bull Durham, I think it is. Stop. Or no, I think it was Bull Durham. Stop thinking; it'll only hurt the ball club.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you get a feel for it. And last question for you: what does the game of baseball mean to you?
It's pretty important for me. I like it as a bit of an avenue to express myself in ways that I don't always get to. When you're out on the field, you just get to do it. There's no thinking or anything. You just you express yourself in the most sort of instinctual way possible, and I think that's kind of cool.
Before we get to the final guest this week, we wanted to share a special announcement as we've added a third platinum supporter who you'll hear more about each week here on the show. The Western Canadian Baseball League has been a gold level sponsor for a while now, but this year is taking the plunge with a higher level of generosity. We truly appreciate the support we get from the league and from all of its teams. You can learn more about them at WCBLBaseball.com. Our final guest this week is a man we got to know back on episode 85 of the show. It was during the pandemic that Sportsnet broadcaster Jamie Campbell gained notoriety for making random phone calls to Blue Jays fans to pass the time and share stories about their favorite team. So we got to talk about that, as well as his broadcasting roots in Edmonton with the Trappers and much more. This week, Campbell is back in Alberta checking out games in Medicine Hat, Sylvan Lake, and Okotoks. Ian and Medicine Hat News reporter James Tubb caught up with Campbell during his visit to Athletic Park.
This isn't your first time here, obviously, at Athletic Park, Jamie, is it? Or?
It's not my first time at Athletic Park to watch a game. It's my son's first time.
Welcome.
Last spring of 2023, I actually pulled up to that parking lot over there and jumped up on that green fence, which almost killed me, quite frankly, just to see the ballpark because I'd heard so much about it. So that's when I resolved to make sure that at some point I had enough time to come and see a game here.
Does it look a little better inside from here, beyond the fence?
Yeah. There's something unmistakably majestic about local baseball, right?
Yeah.
Whatever level it might be, and that could be Little League, that could be the WCBL, but this is, the backdrop alone, it's spectacular. This is PNC Pittsburgh without the buildings, right? And the Clemente Bridge. And I remember when I was here last year, I saw people walking along that path, and I thought, wow, they get to look down on a ballpark, and I'd be here like most nights if I actually lived here. It's spectacular.
You were mentioning before we got recording here, basically how you ended up here. Can you give us the origin story of what drew your eye to the WCBL and how you're able to manage a visit mid-Blue Jays season?
Well, that was tricky, but I've always followed the WCBL from afar, and I've always known about the diamond here, the history here, the Mavericks and the evolution of them. So I've always known about that. And I take great enjoyment in my spare time out of going to local baseball games. I spent a lot of time in Ontario going to what's called the Inter-County League. And there's a genuine sort of homespun pleasure that's, again, indescribable. And the only way to understand it, I guess, is to show up every now and then. So I went to Sportsnet sometime around spring training. They try to give me 3 days off a month, a calendar month. And I said, thank you. And I said, holy shit, is that going? Sorry. Jeez. And I just said, I'll work every game in April if you backload some holiday time for me in July so that I can go and do a trip with my son, Jack. And that's what they did. And so we butted it up against the All-Star break. So I literally don't have to be back until July 20th when they're home against Detroit.
Is it? It sounds like it's restorative for you. You're around the MLB game all the time, and say what you will about that level of baseball, but it sounds like you draw something different from this level of ball.
Well, it's the same game, right? Just played at a bit of a different level. There's supreme talent in this league. It might not be major league talent. In some cases, it has been and will be. But these are still high-level baseball players, right? These are young men who are exceptional at their craft. So it's an appreciation of that. It's just a different setting and a different uniform.
Tell me about the stops that you have planned. Obviously, you mentioned you knew about Medicine Hat. So
Yeah.
the history here, you're also going to Sylvan Lake, I believe, and
Tomorrow.
Oaks.
Yeah.
Have you been to those ballparks? And what's...
This is my first WCBL game ever.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Like I said, I've followed it from afar. I've had a lifelong fascination with baseball in Canada and the history of. So I've always read stories about some of the leagues that developed here, 100 years ago when players would leave the segregated states and come up and play, right? Through the underground. And I remember one of the Black Sox from the famed throwing of the World Series, who ended up coming up to Regina and playing there under an assumed name. And I ended up calling a phone number in Wisconsin that looked like it might have been his daughter, and it was. And she picked up the phone, and we had a chat, and it was really fascinating. And I don't know, it's more based on this fascination that I have with the history of the game in this country.
Any specifics in Sylvan and Okotoks that you're looking forward to, as well as tonight, like just in terms of wandering around the ballpark, or are you just here to soak it all in?
That's about it. It's just it's two things. It's enjoying a relaxing baseball game, spending time with my son. I got a cancer diagnosis 3 years ago, so any chance I get just to chill and spend some time with the people I love and to be at a baseball game at the same time. Doesn't matter who wins and loses here. Doesn't matter what the experience is like tomorrow or on Thursday. It's all time spent, and that's the best I can ask for at this point.
A couple pints as well.
Huh?
Just a couple pints as well.
Yeah, this is a special occasion. I don't drink much anymore, so
Yeah.
two more of these and I'll be tough to drive.
If I can, Jim, you don't have to answer. How are you doing? I know we talked in December, you were good, and how are things now?
Yeah, doing really well. My medication is working, so it's going to push my leukemia into regression for about 5 to 6 years. I miraculously avoided radiation this summer, which is great news. So in 5 or 6 years, when my lymph nodes bulge out of my body again, I'll find another treatment and just learn to live with whatever kind of side effects that treatment is going to embark on, as long as it means I get to stay above ground. And it's truthfully, the prognosis is for a long life. It's just that I have to carry a treatment around for the rest of my time on this earth. There's unless they find a cure, which I hope they do.
We certainly hope so as well. Jamie Campbell of Sportsnet there with Ian Wilson. Thanks to Jamie, as well as Aidan Rose, Cory Wouters, Takao Cookson, and Marcus Graham for joining us this week. And thanks to all of you for downloading, listening, and putting up with my raspy voice. We'll try to get that all minted up for next week. And speaking of next week and the weeks beyond, we'll have a few more conversations from Ian's trip to Saskatchewan, including Moose Jaw's Austin Gurney and Saskatoon's Oakland Flodell. So make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app, as you don't want to miss a moment of the action. As always, a tip of the cap to our platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for all they do for us and for baseball in Alberta. For more on our amazing teammates and to get involved with your organization, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.